Hello and welcome to this Aim High Live. This is called Is My Green Different to Your Green? Or something like that. Except it's part two of Is My Green Different to Your Green because I already did part one and this is the bit after that. If you are joining for the first time, then thanks so much for coming. You can ask questions whenever you want. Just jump in the chat and throw in whatever questions you want to ask. So let's start with this. So this is the same question I asked at the beginning of the last one. Which green is different to all of the other greens? Now I've moved it, or have I? But I'm wondering if you guys can see it this time after the training. Okay, Gallop Freezer said, absolutely agree, Mr. Supreme. Good, agreed, Gallop Freezer. You're exactly right. Okay, but Gallop, can any of you figure out which one of the greens is different to the other one? Okay, so Izzy is saying, is it the one that the arrow is pointing to? It's not the one that the arrow is pointing to. But again, let's do the same system. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, all the way around to 12, can anyone see which one is slightly different? And I'll show you again what we used to figure this out last time. So Gallop Freezer was saying 12, which is that one. I can see why you're thinking that. Okay, let's bring these things to view. So so last time we learnt that the Himba tribe had these different words for the colour green, or had these different words for different colours. They have Buru for these two colours, Dambu and Zuzu, and to our eyes, these two versions of Buru, this one and this one, both look really, really similar. But if you grow up in the Himba tribe, then you really learn to tell the difference. Now, I still can't tell the difference because my eyes are so rubbish at telling a difference between colour, but one of these colours is different to the other ones. Okay, Beetroot Bird, who I'm pretty sure is the one who got this right last time, is spot on again. Whoever you are, you've got amazing eyes. So yeah, this one is the one that is different. Have a look at it now and see if you can still see that it's different. Even the thing for me, even though I know that it's different, I still can't tell the difference between them. Still can't see it. Gallop Freezer saying, I cannot see that at all. And yeah, I agree. I still cannot see it. It still seems completely impossible to me. Now, before I move on, there's something else that I want to show you really quickly. I'm just going to grab the image. So there's this other thing that I wanted to show you guys as well. It's not just the Himba people who have this different colour system that allows them to tell the difference between Buru and Dambu really easily because they learn to recognise it. But also, I found this chart. And this chart shows you different languages and how they describe different colours. So the Japanese have this word ao, I don't know how you pronounce it, which covers all of these colours, all of these greens and blues. And so this is not something that I know a huge amount about, but it's very possible that Japanese people might find it harder to tell the difference between some of these colours because their language is limited to calling all of them the same. And then if you look at English, both of these are green and both of these are blue, but in Russian, these two are completely different colours. They have totally different names, and so Russian people are more likely to be sensitive to the difference between them. Okay, so let us move on to the next bit, because I know that I covered some of that stuff last time, but I just wanted to revisit it to see if anyone could see it, and I still cannot see it. I can't even tell which one it is, like to be completely honest. Should we try it? Let's try bringing it close to see if it helps. So let's grab a bit of Buru. And let's grab a bit of Dambu. Oh, and it's not quite the same, but that's probably because I've copied the image over from two different places on the internet. But these two look so similar. Surely they're the same, aren't they? I guess the one on the right is slightly lighter than the others. Beetroot Bird is saying that it's possible that some people might be able to tell the difference between these two, but then also might struggle to express it, and that's very reasonable considering the fact that we're quite limited for words. Anyway, let's get rid of these greens. Let's put them over here and move on to the next bit. So I want to talk to you about why it is that how we perceive colours. So we have in our eyes, we have 3 different cells that can detect colors. Does anyone know what colors those 3 different cells detect? So 3 cells in our eyes, what are the 3 colors that they can detect? Red, green, and blue. Correct. Okay, cool. So here are the 3 color receptors that we can see. We've got a red one, and a green one, and a blue one. It was a pretty cool thing in evolution when we evolved the red color receptor, which lots of other animals don't have, because the red color receptor allowed us to see what? What useful things did the red color receptor allow us to see? And consider the fact that red is really intense. It's such an intense color in nature. Think about anything red that you see out and about. Think about those notifications that you see on your phone that really grab your attention, even though you don't really want them to. That redness is something that we are trained to want to see. Beatrice is saying, is it because it means danger? And so sometimes red is associated with danger, but often red is something that's really useful to us. We see it and we're attracted to it because it might represent berries that we're foraging for. It might even be something to do with blood for something that we're hunting. Okay, anyway, right, so let's see if you guys can figure out the colours when these things combine. So when red combines with green, what colour does it create? So if we were to see a little bit of red and a little bit of green together, then what colour would we see? Red is correct. And what about if we combine green and blue, what colour would we see? If we combine red and green, we actually get yellow, which I'll label there. And if you see green and blue simultaneously, then the colour that you see is Grue, correct, in brackets, cyan. And if you see red and blue together, then what colour do you see? Bread. Yeah, bread, exactly. Green Mango Man is saying, I am green, and that may well be correct, but I can't know, because I don't know, because I can't see you, but it would be great if you were green. I've never seen someone who's entirely green before. So yeah, if you combine red and blue, then you get the colour of magenta. Now, this is something that we like. This allows us to see all of our different colours, but actually there's something quite strange about this. One of these colours is an odd one out, and if we arrange them all on a colour wheel like this, then we can see that it all just goes around in a circle, and this is something we're often taught about at school. So we go, we've got red here, we've got green here, and we've got blue here. And then the in-between colours that we see when these match up are magenta, yellow, and all the in-betweens like orange and lime green and stuff like that. And then we've got cyan over here. And we always think of colour as acting in a circle, and for us this idea that blue blends to purple, blends to magenta, blends to red is something that we think of as very normal. But actually, it's kind of an entire trick of the mind. And the reason for that is this. If you actually lay out all of the colours on a spectrum of energy, so who knows which of these colours is the highest energy colour of the label? So red, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and magenta. Which one is the highest energy colour? So Gather Freezer is saying red, and Beatrice Bird is saying blue. It's not red, although we often think it's red because red is it seems so intense to us in nature, and because of that our brains trick us into thinking that it must be a highly energetic colour. But actually, red is the lowest energy colour of them all. So red is all the way down here on the energy spectrum, and then comes yellow and green, although we'll just do green. And then comes yellow. So when you see light, we in our minds subdivide it into colours, and that's partly to do with our psychology because of the words that we understand, and partly because of the receptors in our eyes. But actually what we're seeing is we're just seeing a beam of energy coming into our eyes. So if we see light energy coming into our eyes that's kind of like this, then what colour do you guys think we see? What colour do you think we see if we see that beam of energy coming into our eyes? So none of this one, a bit of this one, a bit of this one, and it's kind of in between these two. What colour do you reckon we see? So purple is not the right answer. It would be partway between red and green would be yellow. So this is... Ooh, I realise now that I've completely mislabeled this diagram. This is not supposed to be yellow, this is supposed to be blue. Okay, so next highest in energy you've got green, and then the highest up in energy is blue. And so when we see light, we don't actually we don't actually necessarily see something that's as specific as red or just green or just blue. It's that our mind, our psychology, partly to do with the words that we know, and also partly to do with the receptors in our eyes, we subdivide it into different colours. So if we see light that looks like this, so you've got a bit of red and a bit of green and no blue, then what colour do we see? Let's try again. Okay, yes, exactly, yellow. So here we would see yellow. What about if we were to see light with this energy entering our eyes? Brilliant. Okay, so all of you have got that right. That would be green. Cool. Okay, so and if we saw light like this, so a bit of green and a bit of blue, then we're going to see cyan entering our eyes. But the strange thing is, like, all of these colours have a certain energy. So cyan is kind of this energy, right? And green is this energy, yellow is this energy, red is this energy. There's a dog in the background. Red is this energy, blue is this energy. There's so many dogs in the background. Okay, wait a minute, guys. Quick pause so that you can see my dog. Hey, Krill. Come here. Oh. Say hi to everyone. You've just made so much disruption. Okay, quick hello. Hi all. And now you must depart, I'm afraid. Farewell. Okay, so going back to what we were doing. So yes, red would be this energy, blue would be this energy, green is this energy, yellow is this energy, and cyan is this energy. But what energy is magenta? Where does magenta appear on that colour spectrum? What do you guys reckon? So yeah, it doesn't. That's correct. Magenta does not appear on this colour spectrum. So magenta is actually just an illusion that is created by our eyes that doesn't correspond, and our eyes and our mind. Magenta does not correspond to a real colour. So magenta is a mixture of red and blue. It's what our brain tells us we're seeing when we're seeing two different energies of light at the far opposite ends of the spectrum. It's the only colour that is not real. So magenta is just a psychological construct and nothing more, which is why a lot of optical illusions contain magenta. This is not so much an optical illusion, but I thought it'd be fun to do one of these. Can anyone try this and see if they can see what is inside the picture? If you've never seen one of these before, you have to look really closely, and then you have to cross your eyes a little bit and slowly uncross them, and eventually you should be able to see what the picture is. I wonder if anyone can do it. Take some time to have a little look over it and like see if you can do it. It's something that feels really good when you can do it, but it's also really hard. So the thing that you should be looking for is a kind of 3D chain where you've got like one ring of the chain like that, and then another ring of the chain that kind of goes around the back of it like this. So if you can't do it, don't worry about it. It's something that you have to practice quite a lot in order to see, but it's amazing when you can see it because it jumps right out of the page of this kind of as this like 3D image. And a lot of optical illusions like this are often a lot more vivid when they contain magenta, because magenta is already playing with your mind and how your mind wants to work. Right, okay, so from here there are a couple of places we could go. There are three actually. So where do you want to go next? Do you want to talk about potential cures for colour blindness, or do you want to talk about CMYK printing and how that works, or do you want to talk about why the sky is blue? So why is the sky blue, or CMYK printing, or potential cures for colour blindness? What do you guys think? And I feel like everyone was quite focused on the magic eye. But throw your votes in. Okay, so Danastrauss wants to hear about colour blindness. Okay, cool. Let's just go for that. I'll just go straight into colour blindness. Izzy Rose as well. Right. And then maybe we'll go skywards. So, colour blindness is a consequence of not having one of these receptors. So you might think that colour blindness only reduces your vision by one colour, but actually it's so much more than that, because if you lose the blue receptor, then you also lose this combination that allows you to see cyan, and you also lose the combination that allows you to see magenta. So actually, if you lose one receptor, then you have lost about half of the colours that you can see. Now, colour blindness is not quite that simple, and there are loads of different kinds of colour blindness, but that's a kind of cartoon of how it works. Let's just bring everything back for a moment. Now, if you could, trying to cure colour blindness means that you have to somehow be able to regenerate colour receptors or something. You have to somehow be able to fix something that isn't working in someone's eyes. And there are ways of doing this that have been developed, but none of them have ever been approved for legal treatment. And how they're done involves taking a virus, and it's a virus that has been modified so that the virus contains the genetics for the to fix the thing that is broken in someone's eyes. And then the person with a colour blindness is infected with this virus on purpose, and the virus is sent straight to the eyes, ideally. And the virus then inserts the genetic code, and that can often, well, theoretically, it can fix the problem. And this has been tested in animals, and it's thought that it's worked, but it's never been properly approved. Can anyone think of any reasons why this might not have been approved as a therapy? And Pumpkin Master is saying, do you think there are loads of colours out there that we're missing out on because we don't have the right eyes for it? And yes, exactly. There are loads of colours that we can't possibly see because we don't have the receptors. And people often look at, I think it's called the rainbow shrimp. There's this thing called the rainbow shrimp that theoretically has something ridiculous, like 15 different colour receptors, which means it can see like some silly number of colours. And because if you think of 15 colour receptors, I don't know exactly if that's the number, but it's a huge number, and there are so many different combinations between the different colour receptors. But the problem is that we think its mind is not necessarily equipped to deal with all those different inputs. So even if it has the machinery to see the colours, it can't necessarily perceive the different ones. But for sure, if we had extra colour receptors, I'm sure we could see more things. And there have been some theories in this area that potentially there are people in the world who have an extra colour receptor, and there is some evidence for it, but it's still something that we're trying to figure out. Get Out of the Freezer is saying that they think the rainbow shrimp has 12 colour receptors, and I think that may well be the case. Can't remember the exact number. But anyway, yes, why... so there's just been one suggestion for why it might not have been approved, this therapy for giving people back, or giving people colour vision, if they're colourblind. Perhaps the main reason, apart from it being quite an experimental treatment with not many tests having been done yet, maybe the main reason is to do with the fact that this cure or this treatment is quite temporary. So it might fix cells in your eyes, but eventually, if those cells were to be replaced by other cells that your body is generating, the new cells that replace those old cells will be made from your genetic code. and it's that genetic code which is the one that isn't that doesn't allow you to see colors because it's got some color blindness problem in the code. And so eventually you will need to have the viral treatment again. But the problem is that once you have had the virus before, your body starts to become immune to the virus and recognizes it and fights it off before it can insert its genetic code into the eyes to try and fix them. And so you end up with this problem where you might be able to cure color blindness, but only temporarily. And then what's that going to do to someone's mental health if they can suddenly see all these colors and then all of that's taken away from them? And that is another reason why these cures or like therapies for color blindness may not have been approved yet. Redda's saying hi. Hello. Okay, so let's move over to, I think that people wanted to know why the sky is blue next. So let's do why the sky is blue rather than CMYK printing, because CMYK printing is pretty cool. But I guess why the sky is blue is probably more interesting. So here's how it works. Let's take this Earth and we'll draw an atmosphere around it. Okay, there we go. That'll be that. That's the atmosphere around the Earth. Okay, so if you are, let's say that we're here. I don't know where everyone is, but I'm about here. So at midday, the sun is shining its light straight down on top of us. And as we saw before, light is obviously made from loads of different energies. Let's just quickly go back to that. So here's our energy spectrum. So light is made from different energies. It's made from red, green, and blue. And if the light that's shining on us from the sun is a combination of all of these and also loads of colours we can't even see. But let's just look at the red, green and blue that's shining on us from the sun. When you combine red, green and blue light, what colour do you get? That was one thing I didn't ask before, but if you see this, so if you're seeing red, green and blue and all those energies together, what colour do you see? White, exactly, cool. All the colours combined is white. So if you've got all the colours shining in simultaneously, then you're going to see white. So if it is midday, then you've got white light shining down straight on top of you. Then this white light contains a bit of red. It contains a bit of red, it contains a little bit of green, and it contains a little bit of blue too. Now, when these colours enter the atmosphere has an effect on them, and it causes them to scatter. Which colour do you guys think scatters the most? Which colour scatters the most? Okay, loads of people saying blue, perfect. Yeah, blue scatters the most, and red scatters the least. So red essentially pierces straight through the atmosphere and takes a really direct route straight into your eyes. Green takes a pretty straight route, maybe not perfectly straight, but a pretty straight route as well, going almost directly into your eyes. And so you see red and green coming simultaneously from this direction over here. And what do you see when red and green are combined? What colour do you see when you're seeing red and green together? So 1 million slots is saying brown, and brown is what you get when you mix red and green paint. But when you mix red and green light, you get yellow, exactly, which the others are saying. Good. Okay, so yeah, you'll get so this is why people see the sun as yellow, because they're seeing the red and the green light come directly. Meanwhile, the blue light is having to take this really scattered route, and it's bouncing all around, going all over the place, and then eventually it will shine into your eyes. But when it does so, it's coming from a direction that doesn't look to us as if it's where the sun is. So you're stood at this pink dot, and above you, you see the yellow sun, because you're seeing red and green. But to the side, you're seeing blue, and over here you're seeing blue, and over here you're seeing blue as well, because blue's coming at you from every direction. So when you look at the blue sky, you're actually seeing a scattered version of the sun. So you are looking at the sun, it's just that the sun's light is coming at you from quite unexpected directions. And obviously it's all diffused across the entire sky rather than being concentrated where the sun is. So that is why the sky appears blue. Okay, now, the scattering effect, in case anyone wants to look into it more, is called Rayleigh scattering. And this is a bit of a cartoon of it. that I've created so that you guys can understand what's going on. But Rayleigh scattering is something that you'll study if you do degree level chemistry or physics, and it's pretty cool, and it explains why the blue scatters so much. Anyway, right. So the other interesting thing about this is that at sunset or sunrise, the light isn't coming at you from directly above, it's coming from the side, right? So if the light is coming at you from the side, again, you've got red, green, and blue light all shining into the atmosphere together. Now, what's the difference between the path that the light has to take now to reach you compared to what it had to take when it was directly above you? But I'm quite dyslexic, so I'm very bad with spelling. So Dalsastros is saying it's longer, Izzy Rose is saying it's longer, and Gatherfreeze is saying it has to curve. So it can't curve because light will always travel in a straight line according to its own perspective. Although sometimes it looks like it's curving if it's curving around something gravitational, but that's because space and time are warping, and that's a whole other area, which is really cool. But that's not what we're doing now. The blue light scatters because it's constantly bouncing around, but that's Rayleigh scattering, which we're not going to go into now. So, yes, it takes a much longer path, which means that the red light still reaches you pretty directly. But now the green light, even though it's only scattering a little bit, the scattering starts to become enough that it's noticeable. And so instead of... And meanwhile, the blue light obviously is scattering all over the place, just like before, and coming at you from every direction. But now it's even dimmer because it's kind of scattered all over the place. And this means that now you look at the sun and it looks red. And the thicker the kind of amount of atmosphere that it has to go through to get to you, the more red it will appear. And so you get the best sunsets when you are quite high up above probably the ocean, because then you've got a huge distance that you can see, and so the sun's light can travel through a huge amount of atmosphere before it reaches you, so you're definitely just going to see a very pure red. And then when you look into the sky, what colour will you see? So there's one answer for blue. It's not going to be blue by itself because you've got the blue mixing with the green, so you'll actually see exactly cyan. Yeah, you'll see a kind of cyan-y colour in the sky, and but the sky is obviously quite dark, and so it's not necessarily that easy to see it, but you'll see a very strong red from the sun travelling straight towards you. Now, here's the really interesting thing, and I need to finish, but I'll just tell you this last bit. So when the sun disappears behind the horizon, the red light has the shortest route to get to you. So I want you to imagine that you've got the light source just here. I know that obviously the light source isn't here, but imagine the light source is right here, shining on the Earth. Now, if you were to suddenly just switch that light source off, so it's just suddenly off, then the red light has the shortest route to get to you. And so the last bit of red light will arrive with you before the last bit of green light, which arrives before the last bit of blue light. So what I mean is that the red light has a slightly shorter distance to go, and so it finishes its last bit of travelling after the light source has been turned off, before the green light. And so there is a tiny, tiny moment just after the sun sets when there is a flash of green in the sky, because the green hasn't quite reached you, even though the last of the red has already reached you. And this effect is called green flash. And it's quite difficult to capture in photography, but some people have managed to do it before, and it looks like this. Green flash. And trying to decide whether the Himba people call it Buru, or Dambu, or Zuzu, I'm not sure, because I don't understand the language enough, and my colour perception is clearly nowhere near as good as some other students on this. But maybe it'd be more like Dambu, or maybe it'd be more like Buru, because it's kind of got a bit of that blueness to it. Anyway, so that's green flash. That's a kind of explanation of why we see colours differently. I hope that's been interesting to everyone, and thanks so much for coming along to both of these, to this 2-part series. If you haven't already, then do follow our socials, which you can find here on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and follow on our Twitch as well if you're on there. If you are watching on our website, then below you can leave feedback if you want to, which is always appreciated so that we can figure out how to do this better. And sign up for our schedule if you haven't already, because quite a lot of stuff is going to change a lot over the summer. We're going to be doing more guests. I'm going to be doing a few fewer of these ones so that I can focus on the guest ones, but when I do the ones that are like this, they're going to be, I'm going to put more time into them basically, so I hope you'll come along to those. And yeah, thanks again for coming. Do let me know any last questions if you want, and I will see you guys tomorrow for George Monbiot. So tomorrow at let me show you the poster one more time. In fact, I'll show you two posters. Okay, here we go. Here are the posters. So this one is. Oh, still look at him. Yeah, this one is George. So George is tomorrow. Should nature be at the centre of teaching? So come along to that. That is at 4 p.m. And the other one is this, which is the summer school. So yeah, on the last 2 weeks of August, we're going to do the big catch up. So we're going to do 2 weeks of loads of syllabus lessons so that you guys can catch up on school. If you felt that you've got behind on stuff, we'll just do like bits of physics, geography, biology, chemistry, a bit of maths, maybe, probably a bit of music actually. Anyway, and also, if you missed Phil's live before, then come to the one tomorrow. I think I might be on it tomorrow, about starting to write a book. The project sounds so cool. He's planning this poetry book. I'm going to help him write it as well, and we'll all write it together, and we'll all become published authors, which will be really fun. And also, yeah, there'll be a few learning adventures in the summer as well, so sign up to the schedule so that you can get those. Thanks again for coming all. And is that person meant to be me? No, I don't think so. I really want to jump like that though. That would be cool. So thanks all for coming, and I will see you all tomorrow for George. Farewell.